What is going on? It is Monday, December 8th, and this is the afternoon shift. I'm Adam Llorens. I hope you all had an awesome weekend and are having great starts to your week up ahead. I know I had a great weekend. I also know our executive producer, Paul-Millgate, had a great weekend. Paul, you want to share to the people where you were this weekend?
Well, I was in, can you hear me?
We got you.
You got me. I was in your old neck of the woods, mate.
Yes, the 615, beautiful Middle Tennessee.
Yeah, down in Tennessee. It was
That's right.
delightful. I actually I went out to the town I think you grew up in, Franklin.
Beautiful Franklin, Tennessee, one of the greatest suburbs in America.
Is that a suburb or is it
for
its
sure.
own town?
Well, I mean, it's definitely its own town. You know what? Franklin's gotten so big these days that it probably is more so its own town now. But back when I was living there, I should say, it was definitely a suburb, an antebellum suburb as they called it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. If you ever are down there, you absolutely should get there. And then we went out to another recommendation from Grace Henry to go and see Leapers Fort,
Yeah,
the beautiful little town nearby. That was amazing. So again, can't recommend that highly enough. You know, I'm going to say something a little bit controversial here. Nashville, I know it's this massive music hub, and there's obviously a huge music history there.
Music City, USA.
Broadway.
Okay.
It's a little overrated.
Tourists.
Full of tourists. Feels like you're in bad nightclubs everywhere. Like, I just feel like I'm in a nightclub way too early. The lights are too bright.
Yeah.
It's just the floors are sticky. I want to be in like a dive bar that's got charm, you know? And so we ended up finding a place called Nashville Palace. Have you ever heard of that?
Okay, I'm not familiar with that one.
Well, we found like we felt like we happened upon a great little hidden secret gem. Even the locals are saying to us, this is where the locals come.
There you go.
So we went there and we actually got to see the grand final of the National Line Dancing competition. I'm trying to remember who took it out. Someone from Nashville, Tennessee took out the women's competition.
Okay.
And then I think that one of the guys, the guy that took out the nationals on his was from North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
But there was someone from Michigan.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. It's an interesting crowd of people going out honky-tonking down in Nashville, I can tell you that.
Growing up, we had to learn how to do the Boot Scoot and Boogie by Brooks and Dunn, as well as learn how to do the Tennessee Waltz by Patsy Cline. So dancing was a big part of it. I was going to say, those Broadway bars there, Tootsie's Orchard Lounge, all the other ones, just packed chock full of tourists. Like, you're not going to see any real Nashvillians in that neck of the woods. But you did go to the Pancake Pantry, which is a tourist and local spot aligned. Everybody loves the Pancake Pantry, especially the buckwheat pancakes.
Yeah, I want to know if someone's watching, and please send us a DM on Instagram if this is the case. Is there a line dancing scene here in Minnesota at all? Because the group of people we saw out there having a great time, everyone's like knows all the dancers. It's phenomenal. I want to see it here.
Maybe we could get a whole segment on from a Minnesota line dancing organization, and they can teach us how to do some.
a dance. I'd love to see that.
I can get down. I can do a little Texas two-step. I can get down. Oh yeah. Yeah. You haven't seen me in my element yet. yet. Maybe soon enough. Hopefully we can get this line dancing thing going on.
Yeah, I think we should try and get something a line dancing. There's got to be a line dancing club. There's line dancing in my hometown in Australia, so there's definitely going to be line dancing here in Minnesota. But we just want to know the real stuff. Let us know if you've got a tip for us.
For sure. Please let us know. You see our Instagram there at the bottom of the screen. Afternoon shift _Fox9. Again, I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. We have an awesome show coming up for everybody today. In just a little bit, I'm going to be joined by one of my buddies, Jim Rich, Fox 9 sports director. We're going to be talking all about the Vikings shutout win over the Commanders. Of course, the Vikings got shut out the week before at Seattle. This week, they returned the favor, shut out the Washington Commanders at home. And then we're going to be looking ahead to Sunday night of this upcoming week, where the Vikings are going to be in prime time at Dallas against the Cowboys. Should be a fun game and a fun end stretch of the season here. 4 more games left, 2 on the road, and then they end the season versus the Lions on on Christmas Day, and then versus the Packers to close out the season. So Jim Rich coming up next. Thom Petersen, he's the Department of Agriculture's commissioner for the state of Minnesota. You probably saw this news out of the White House today. President Trump has given American farmers a $12 billion bailout. We're going to be talking to Mr. Petersen to see how much of that money is going to be focused to Minnesota, specifically with the soybean industry. which took a massive hit during Trump's tariffs rollout. So Thom Petersen will be coming up. And then the James J. Hill House. I was unfamiliar with this piece of property, folks. It is on a beautiful, beautiful piece of land on Summit Avenue in St. Paul. What a gorgeous looking house that is. A curator from the Minnesota Historical Society will be telling us all about the James J. Hill House, its relevance to the Twin Cities, who exactly James J. Hill was, and all the Christmas-themed celebrations and whatnot that they've got coming up there at the James J. Hill House. Really a beautiful piece of property. Really excited to talk to the Minnesota Historical Society. All right, briefly, let's get into some headlines before we really get rolling in today's show. We're going to take it back to New York City. Luigi Mangione, he was in court today for evidence suppression hearings ahead of his trial for allegedly murdering United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. If you look it up online, there's a pretty notable shot of Luigi Mangione pumping his fists at a pool photographer as he entered the courtroom this morning. One thing that came of note today in court, police body cam footage showed officers finding a loaded magazine wrapped in a pair of wet underwear in Mangione's backpack. Again, not exactly sure what's going to become of that evidence, and that's what these hearings all this week are all about, are all these pretrial evidence hearings going into that murder trial for United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson. As it relates to all things Luigi Mangione, we will, of course, keep you posted right here on the afternoon shift. All right, let's stay in New York, actually. And today is a milestone. On this date, 45 years ago, December 8th, 1980, John Lennon assassinated outside his Manhattan apartment building. If you are of a certain age, you probably remember this day. It was on a Monday, just like this year. It was a pretty notable moment during Monday Night Football that year of Howard Cosell literally interrupting the broadcast. I believe the New York Jets were playing to break the news to America that John Lennon had died. He lived at the Dakota Building on the Upper West Side, right on the border of Central Park, when a guy named Mark David Chapman shot him shortly after he asked John Lennon for an autograph. So he asked John Lennon to autograph an album cover, and then about 10 to 15 minutes later, he shoots him. There's a memorial site not far from the Dakota within Central Park on the west side called Strawberry Fields. It's a memorial to John Lennon. If you've ever been to that Strawberry Fields Memorial inside Central Park, you'll note the circular ground and the words "Imagine." Of course, an allude to John Lennon's most famous singular song after his Beatles breakup there. And on this day, every single year, there are guitar players and different people playing all different sorts of Beatles music and John Lennon music. Mark David Chapman, the assassin of John Lennon, he's still alive. He's age 70, and he is incarcerated in New York State. Paul, of course, you told us all about your experience at the Paul McCartney concert at US Bank Stadium in October. Do you have a favorite John Lennon song by chance?
Well, I do actually. My favorite song of all time, co-written, I believe, by Paul and John, Across the Universe.
Oh, okay.
It's my favorite song of all time.
Wow.
Have you heard it?
I probably have heard it, but I can't say I knowingly know it. Yeah.
It's just sort of this beautiful poetry.
Yeah.
It's beautiful poetry to a great just tune. It's just a really, really beautiful song, and I sit and I feel like it's one of those songs that every single time you listen to it, you take away something new. Like just there's a turn of phrase in there that just gets you thinking about it for the rest of the day. It's a really beautiful song, and yeah, I mean, it's such a shame to lose anyone, but to lose someone that was so talented and so creative, and you don't know what else could have happened in his life, like what he could have actually brought to the table, and yeah. It's a shame.
Absolutely.
I know that to talk about Paul and the time at the concert, whenever there was a song that really came up about that was it wrote with John or had a story about John, you could still see to this day that Paul is still affected by the fact that he's lost that very dear friend, that collaborator, and that sort of a crazily intimate relationship, writing those songs that have now been just across the world with everyone. So you can still see that it hurts him to this day. Yeah.
Obviously, just a very sad memorial, and still go up to that Dakota apartment building and kind of be right in the midst of where all of it went down. And like I said, if you ever have the chance to go to New York, go to that Strawberry Fields Memorial inside Central Park. If you are a Beatles fan, that is a moment that you will not forget. Okay, like I said, it is an absolutely jam-packed show. And coming up next, Mr. Jim Rich, one of my best friends here at Fox 9. He's Fox 9 sports director. We're going to be talking all things Vikings. That's coming up right after this commercial break. Don't go anywhere. We're just getting started. are back here on the afternoon shift. A week after getting shut out by the Seattle Seahawks, the Minnesota Vikings returned the favor and shut out the Washington Commanders yesterday, 31-0. Here to tell us more is my good friend and Fox 9 sports director, Mr. Jim Rich. Jim, thanks
Good
so much
to see
for
you, Adam.
Being here, man. You know, I saw your big Instagram post on the Vikings win last night. You want to tell the people about what you were sharing on social media?
So many people follow it. It's just crazy. I just all my phone does is buzz with replies and likes. It's crazy.
Why aren't you on social media? I think the people of the Twin Cities, they care about your opinions, especially as it pertains to the Vikings and Minnesota hockey.
That's why I'm here.
Yep.
That's why I'm on Fox Local. That's why I'm on Fox 9. That's why I'm on Fox 9 Plus. You get plenty of me.
Yeah.
And we want that interaction because we want people to use our platforms, not somebody else's.
That's true. That's true. Hey, you know what? Maybe you can encourage the bosses here. We could do a joint show from Fort Myers for the Minnesota Twins spring training here in a couple months. I don't like that. I love baseball.
You like the 85-degree weather compared to what you're going through right now. So if the Twins had a dome in Anchorage and they went there in February, would you still be willing to offer yourself to go up there?
I wouldn't be as inclined, but I haven't been to Alaska before, so it could be checking off a box there. But Fort Myers is beautiful, so
It is. Yeah. It is. No, and the Twins do have a great complex down there.
Yeah.
And it is very fan-friendly. If you are a baseball fan, that's where you need to go as spring training because the players, they haven't lost yet, so they're all in a good mood. They'll sign stuff. They'll just talk baseball. Like a lot of times you'll see them just talking to players. The fans will just be talking back and forth. When Ron Gardenhire was the manager, he always would include fans and drills and stuff, and it's very homey. And then that ballpark is tremendous to watch games in because it goes all the way around, so there's a boardwalk all the way around. Now, the prices have gone up in recent years, which I think is sad because, your stars play, one at bat, two at bats, and then they're gone, and then you're looking at 89 and 92 out there, and you're like, okay, who's this guy? So it should be cheap since you're traveling all that way to go see your favorite team.
Yeah.
But now they've kind of upped the prices a little bit. It's still better than it was.
Yeah.
Better than going to Target Field. But
I can go hang out with my guy James Outman. He's my favorite Minnesota Twin. So,
of course, he's a Dodger.
he's a Jay Serra guy from Northern California. Let's get into the Vikings. That's why you're here. All right. So we had you on last Monday. We kind of talked about the quarterback situation. Let's just start with it again. J.J. McCarthy, impressive. 3 touchdowns, no picks. 163 passing yards, not a ton of 23 passing attempts, not a ton.
No.
But what are your takeaways from his performance?
They dumbed it down. I mean, that's what they said they were going to do, and they followed through on that. They ran the ball. They stayed committed to the run. And so McCarthy wasn't the main engine of the offense. He was an ancillary piece. So then he had the opportunity to throw when he wanted, not to throw when he had to. And they also shortened the routes. They weren't the deep balls. He only threw like 1 or 2, and I don't think connected on either one. So O'Connell looked at it, and he says, all right, this is what you're capable of doing right now. Let's get you comfortable with that, and then they have to grow off of that. Now, Ahmad said on the Vikings Now podcast that they can't stay with this. Because I go, well, all right, this worked.
Yeah.
This is what we're doing for the last 5 weeks.
Yeah.
You can't, he said, because teams will know exactly what you're doing in this formation, and then they'll jump right on it, and it won't be as effective. So you have to grow more routes off of that original tree of plays, and then you could go from there. But the biggest concern is the accuracy, right? They kept the throws short. They kept them simple so he could get rid of the ball quickly and right to where he was going. He wasn't making 1, 2, 3, 4 progressions. It was 1 or 2, and that's where it's going.
Yeah. One guy that he wasn't hitting a lot of yesterday was the other JJ, Justin Jefferson.
Well, that goes back to that route tree, though.
That's right.
Right? Because Jefferson isn't a slot receiver. He's not a guy that, comes out of the backfield and you can dump a swing pass to him. Like you saw yesterday, who did he hit the most? Tight ends.
Yes, that's right.
Right?
That's right.
Oliver had 2 touchdowns, and
yes.
Hawkinson had a touchdown.
That's
so
right.
those are short-range targets, right? That's not just a Jefferson. And so that is what the next progression should be, is to try to figure out how they could get those two back on the same page, or more likely McCarthy on the page as Jefferson, because I don't think he needs any work with his game.
Do you think Justin Jefferson walked away from the game happy? He said he was happy because they won. Kind of a meaningless win. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, the Vikings are 250-1 odds to make the playoffs. It's not impossible.
Well, there's a shot.
Listen, a $4 bet can win you $1,000 if you think they can make the playoffs. But for all intents and purposes, they're not going to make the playoffs. You think he's genuinely happy that they got the win, or do you think he wants to get involved more? I mean, obviously he wants to get involved.
Obviously, he wants the ball. That's what he's all about. You know, he said last week there was a bite we ran on Fox 9 News at 9 and at 10
Good promo.
that he is talking about that I hate to lose. Okay? We're playing cards. We're playing a board game. We're playing who can throw the piece of paper in the garbage can. It infuriates him when he loses. And that's the kind of competitor he is. So first he's happy they got the win. But now it has to go to the next level and get him involved again. So we'll see. But, you know, small steps. And obviously Washington, talk about teams not going anywhere.
Yeah.
They have no interest in being on that field yesterday.
Yeah.
So, you know, you talk about JJ's numbers and how good they looked. Well, it was a team against a team that really wasn't interested in trying to get to you. But it's a step, right? You have to build some confidence in the kid. So he'll be better when he's at Dallas on Sunday Night Football, hopefully.
Yeah, and Dallas should have some interest. They're also a long shot to make the playoffs. Not 250-1. They're 8.5-1 to make the playoffs.
They're right there.
But they're in it.
They can stick their nose in there still.
It's really the last 2 weeks of the season against the Lions on Netflix, and then the Packers in Week 18. Those feel like those are going to be the real tests for JJ. Is that a fair statement you'd say?
I would think so, unless Detroit falls apart between now and then. And Green Bay already has the division clinched and they can't move anymore, then they'll rest people. So you don't know, but
that's right.
I think those will be much better scenarios. I think this one's going to be a very tough one for them, just because you said Dallas has got something to play for. And Jerry Jones, he does not want to lose at any time, at any point. So, and it's Sunday Night Football. You don't want to get beat on Sunday Night Football because the whole nation is watching you. So this is where McCarthy can, you know, reclaim his name, because right now it's not too high. Yeah, certainly at home for Jerry Jones as well. One guy that did get involved yesterday for the Vikings is my guy from Notre Dame, Harrison Smith. He got his first interception of the season. He's 36 years old, Jim. Is this sort of a swan song season for him? You think he's a Pro Football Hall of Famer? Obviously a Vikings Ring of Honor guy, but without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me, but it's ridiculous where he is. He's all on these all-time lists, hanging out right here, right there. So absolutely, the guy's a Hall of Famer. Been such a class individual, how he's handled himself here in his 13, 14 years, that he's been polite with the media. He's been a leader of the defense, doesn't just worry about himself, but worries about everybody on that side of the ball. And so, yes, he is definitely a Hall of Famer, and it was great to see him have that catch. And it was interesting. O'Connell, the Saturday night before his pregame speech, since, as you mentioned, the playoff odds are not in their favor, O'Connell told them to reach back to yourself at 16, that here's a chance for you to play the game you love in the National Football League as a 16-year-old. And just think about how excited you'd be to play that game if you were 16. And that really hit home. Harrison Smith talked about it after the game. A lot of the guys brought that up, and he said he just kind of put everything back in focus for us. That, it's a bad season. We only got 4 wins, blah, blah, blah. We're not probably going to the playoffs. But just go out and enjoy the game that you're playing at. And for Harrison, he knows he's not going to be doing it much longer, so you better enjoy the opportunities that you get down the stretch. Yeah. Let's talk hypothetically here for the remaining of the season. And let's say JJ continues to play well, and again, I think that Lions game, they're going to be coming full throttle. But you're right, the Packers, if they have the division clinched, you might not see Jordan Love, you might see some of the backups. But let's say JJ plays well for the rest of the season, hypothetically. Do you still, is he coronated as the for sure starter next year? Well, they already did that. That's why we're in this mess, right? they coronated him right out of the gate because they told Daniel Jones, you don't have a shot here unless he gets hurt. Aaron Rodgers was knocking on the door, please, I want to be a part of the Vikings. And they said no. Yeah. And so he was made the king here without doing anything, and then we see what kind of trouble we got ourselves into.
Yeah.
So we need to see more improvement. But I would think if I'm O'Connell, if I was Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, that I would go out and find a veteran backup to push the guy. And depending on how the draft falls, although, right, it's going to be hard for them to get lower, right? Everybody's saying, oh, we can just tank and go after the Indiana quarterback, right? That's the guy we need to get. That's not going to happen because there's so many teams. There's like 3 2-win teams and 4 3-win teams. So there's no way all of those teams are going to all of a sudden win games to pass you.
Right.
So best they're going to be is 9 or 10 maybe.
Yeah.
And that's not really where you're going to get a home run pick at quarterback. So
you think there's some Vikings fans that are like kind of low key upset that they won yesterday because
of course you get those people that say, oh God, we just throw them all away. Well, that's not the way those guys are.
Yeah, no, you can't play that way. Yeah,
and that's why Brian Flores sued the NFL.
Yes,
because his owner said, hey,
that's right, Stephen Ross. That's
let's throw these games so we can get a better draft pick. And Flores goes, excuse me, I'm not going to get another job somewhere else. You're going to have me tank, then you're going to fire me.
Yeah,
and then I'm out on the street. So he went after him. So
maybe Mac Jones could be a guy the Vikings could look at. Brock Purdy's back up in San Francisco. Did a great job filling in for him on the 49ers system. I don't know. Maybe I know he's not a super veteran, but he's been around the NFL. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, and again, it depends on what we see, right? Of how urgent and how good that backup needs to be. Like, do we need this backup to play 40% of the games next year?
Yeah.
Because we're still having issues with JJ. Or does JJ show you enough down this stretch where, like, okay, we just need to make sure we have a capable backup if he goes down, because he's already been hurt quite a bit in this young stretch of his.
Yeah. Hey, Jim, while I have you, what's the latest with Minnesota hockey? How are the Gophers doing?
They lost in overtime to Ohio State. They won the first game of that series, so pretty good way to wrap up the end of the season, the first half of the season. They took out, who'd they beat at home? Oh, beat Notre Dame. Yeah, that's what it was.
You always find a way to.
How's your bowl game coming along?
You know, listen, there were a lot of people that were texting me about this yesterday. By the way, I'm thrilled for the Gophers that they're in the rate bowl on December 26th.
Do they not guarantee the rate anymore? Is that what that means?
They rebranded. So like it's rate field for the White Sox in Chicago now. It's just the rate bowl.
Yeah, well, that means you go get a loan from them. It's not guaranteed anymore.
How would you rate the Notre Dame decision to opt out of playing bowl games yesterday?
Well, you're the super fan. Now you're not going to get to see your team one more time.
I mean, listen.
Could have got a nice trip to California, Arizona.
Notre Dame, they don't need the nice trip. It's fine. Listen, here's the thing. And I mean this with all due respect to Minnesota and everybody else that's playing a bowl game this year. The bowl system has become like the NIT tournament now for basketball with the playoff. And I'm not complaining about it. I think it's a good thing. I think the playoff is a good thing. I think the playoff should expand, if anything else. But for Notre Dame to be in that top 12 this whole time and then to get sloshed out of it, it's a farce that they even ranked them all these weeks and broadcasted it. I understand why they're broadcasting it. They're selling commercial spots. I get it. ESPN owns the playoff. I get it. It's all a moneymaker. I'm all in for making money. I'm all in for capital. I'm all in for capital. But you can't do that and then just yank the rug out under them for the last minute and then say, hey, go play in the Pop-Tart Bowl. It's like this is Notre Dame football. And I mean that with all due respect to every other football program. It's different. And I know that they haven't won since 1988. I get it. I understand that. It's different. This is not – I was going to say Minnesota. But it's not. It's not. It's just a little bit different. And so it's like you can't – it was a little disrespectful what the CFP committee did, but it's fine. Of course, the CFP committee chair.
So you should have been in.
Of course. And they had him ranked this whole time. Of course, the CFP committee chair, Hunter Yurachek, who's the athletic director at the University of Arkansas, who Notre Dame destroyed in Fayetteville earlier this year against their top string line guys in the SEC and all of it. Yeah, I'm not saying that there's a bias against Notre Dame because Notre Dame brings in viewers and Notre Dame brings in a lot of money all the time.
But they're on an island.
And they're on an island.
You're not a Big Ten. You're not an SEC, so they don't get a cut of that pie when you're involved.
Yeah. What's you and I? Maybe we can coax I can get Pete Bavacqua, the AD at Notre Dame. You can get the AD at University of Minnesota. We can create a game. We won't even do it at Huntington Bank Stadium. We can do it at US Bank Stadium.
You could have gone to the Rate Bowl with us to see Iowa State apparently bailed on it too.
They They did bail too. Yeah, I'm sure Minnesota versus Notre Dame at the Ray Bowl would have been a lovely game. It would have been awesome, but I don't think Notre Dame wanted a piece of that. I think they would have rather.
I know. It's already you're out of the college football playoffs. Then you lose to Minnesota. That's a tough way to go into the offseason.
You have my word, Jim. If Notre Dame ever plays Minnesota, we're both going to be there. All right, and we can do something there.
Yeah, why don't you play us?
And you know what?
Why do you always play Purdue? I mean, come on.
There's a long storied Indiana State rivalry with Purdue.
Well, so what?
Yeah.
Let's get something fresh on that schedule. You guys got some that are just like, really? Okay.
I tell you what, to make this a full circle moment of this conversation, if Notre Dame ever plays Minnesota, maybe you and I, we could do a social first clip in regards to Notre Dame and Minnesota. We could do a little Gophers fighting Irish thing. That'd be fun.
Sure.
Yeah.
Get Coach Fleck. He'll be there.
I'd love that. I'd love that. And I love you, Jim. You're one of my favorite people here at Fox 9. I mean that from the heart.
Max isn't here. Max has never been here yet.
I mean that from the heart. I really do. I mean that from the heart.
You're a good guy. We're glad you're on the team.
Yeah, and we should get you an endorsement deal with Mountain Dew because nobody drinks more Mountain Dew than you.
It's the only way to stay awake.
I can stay awake just by listening to you talk all day, Jim. Thanks so much for being here.
Yep, no problem.
Appreciate it. We're going to go from Jim Rich, who's one of my favorite people at Fox 9, to one of my favorite people in the state of Minnesota at large. I promise you, this is real. He's the commissioner of the Department of Agriculture. I love this guy, Thom Petersen. We had him on earlier. Thom Petersen coming up next. This is going to be an awesome conversation about the federal bailout for American farmers and how that affects Minnesota soybeans specifically. Don't go anywhere. Commissioner Petersen coming up next. Welcome back here to the afternoon shift. We just had on my buddy Jim Rich on the show to talk about the Vikings and their shutout win over the Washington Commanders yesterday. And as I promised at the end of it, we're about to bring into this conversation one of my favorite people in the entire state of Minnesota. He is the commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, Thom Petersen. We're bringing Mr. Petersen on. I'm not sure if you saw in the news earlier today, President Trump announced that American farmers will receive a $12 billion bailout. That's billion with a B. Minnesota soybean industry has taken a hit recently, particularly with new tariffs that have been put in place. Of course, one of the biggest purchasers of soybeans here in Minnesota is the country of China. And that's where Mr. Petersen comes involved here, bridging that gap between the government and the farmers. And I understand that we have him on the line right now. Commissioner Petersen, can you hear me? There you are.
Yeah, glad to join you this afternoon.
Thank you so much for making time for us, Commissioner Petersen. We really do appreciate it. Let's just take a step back before we get into the actual bailout announcement that came out of the White House today. How did we get to this place where a federal bailout needed to be sent for farmers?
Well, it's kind of been an ongoing piece that's actually snowballed for a couple of years here. It hasn't been, there's a lot of emphasis on the tariffs and everything else, but farmers have kind of seen flat prices for the last couple of years. We've also seen as rising input costs. So think about seed, land rent, land purchases itself, fertilizer, pesticides, all those things, parts for your combine or your tractors. All those things have been raising up in price too as well. So when the price at the marketplace that the farmer gets isn't there, those inputs really hit hard because there's nowhere to pass that on to. And then as we got into this first part of the year and we had the tariffs take place and we had China exit the market and not make any purchases until just recently, that really threw a big hit, especially to our soybean farmers. And of course, China being our biggest trading partner for soybeans in general, that was difficult. So good to see the news today of the bailout or payments or whatever you want to call it. They're calling it a bridge payment. But that to me is a Band-Aid and it's welcome because farmers do need it right now, but we'll see what the future brings.
Yeah. And you talk about this, these payments that are coming, $12 billion. That's nationwide. That's for American farmers. What slice of that pie is the state of Minnesota going to get?
Well, that's to be determined, and it's actually going to be $11 million for our big commodity crops like corn, soybeans. We plant 8 million acres of corn, 7 million acres of soybeans, 1 million acres of wheat. We also have farmers that raise oats that are going to be impacted by this, and canola. One other good thing I did see in this today, and again, we're just getting the details, was that there's $1 million set aside for specialty crops. And so They don't nearly get enough news, but they've also had a hard time this last year. So think apples. We have a lot of apple farmers. We have a lot of fruit and vegetable growers in Minnesota. They will also see that. And the payments, we're told, will be made by February 28th of next year, and that the application process will be easy for farmers. But we'll be going through the details here in the next couple of days.
Commissioner Petersen, you called this federal bailout more of a Band-Aid than anything else. What do you think is the actual long-term solution here?
Well, we need some stability in our markets. What I'd like to see and get back to is that America returns to the trusted trading partner that we've been. I have been just recently in Europe with Governor Walz, and twice actually in the last couple of months on trade missions. We've hosted other delegations from Taiwan, Southeast Asia, and Europe. And, the piece of it there is the unknown part of how our tariffs are working. Are they on? Are they off? What's the rate? Switzerland, for example, when we visited there, they had a 39% tariff. That has impacted our businesses, our farm businesses here in Minnesota. And they cut that tariff to 15% just a couple of weeks ago, but it's still a 15% tariff that's passed on to somebody. And so, those continuing changing markets are very difficult. So we need some stability in our markets. We need to return to a trusted trading partner because otherwise those countries are going to turn to other countries, which they already have, whether that's Brazil or Argentina. If we see Ukraine enter the market again and Russia, we have to continue to see that. But we'll go with the news today, and hopefully that's a good start, and hope that things improve.
Commissioner Petersen, what would you say is the relationship right now between Minnesota's soybean farmers and the country of China? Is it a good one? I know you said just recently that business has kind of continued to pick up, but where do you think it stands right now on December 8th?
Well, I'm optimistic that it's improved. So we had the deal that President Trump, President Xi signed. That'll bring a $12 billion purchase here by the end of the year. And I would say it looks like they're behind on those payments, right now, and those shipments. And so we hope that catches up. And then $24 billion next year. And so we want to see those come to fruition. It's one thing to have an agreement. It's one thing to have a purchase and an actual delivery. The other thing that I think is important in that agreement is they called for détente, or a cooling off period, kind of what I was just talking about, that, hey, we're going to spend some time here and not change things. This is the deal. We're both going to honor it, and we're both going to kind of cooler heads prevail. Farmers kind of need that, right now. There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of, just not knowing what's going to happen. When you look at Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, there's a new announcement. So some détente in that. And so I say it's improving. I'm an optimist. I probably wouldn't do this job if I wasn't, and so hoping for that too, as we go forward.
Commissioner Petersen, there's probably a lot of people at home wondering, okay, the $12 billion bailout is great. Why not just cancel the tariffs that kind of maybe led to this problem in the first place? What would you say to that?
Well, it's complicated, but you kind of bring up a good point in a roundabout way. What I keep saying is, where have we gotten with the tariffs? Basically, we're going to get back to where we were 2 years ago with purchases. We're going to be about the same amount that we were, only we went through this whole craziness of tariffs and paying all these things and delays and unknowns that really did disrupt our market somewhat and caused a lot of anxiety in the countryside. And so that's a good question, and something that I've been asking as we move forward. Again, is what's our policy going to continue to be with tariffs? And so, but I'm not sure what we ended up getting in the end.
Yeah. Another thing that people at home probably don't know or are asking is, they see you talk about all the other crops that Minnesota produces, corn, apples, wheat, all these other things. Soybeans, it's not something that you and I that we just normally eat as a snack or as a dinner centerpiece. Why are soybeans so important to Minnesota's agricultural economy?
Yeah, in many different ways they are. Think about it as a livestock feed. It's an excellent livestock feed. So getting crushed and being fed to a lot of hogs. A lot of our soybeans stay here in the state. We're number 2 in hog production. We have a lot of cattle, dairy cattle. So that is really helpful. And then biodiesel or biofuels is another part of that. And so whatever we can do to add into that. So you might not think about that, but when you're enjoying your hamburger, your steak, or your pork chop, there's a good chance they ate some soybean meal along the way. And so China also is a large hog, and they eat a lot of pork, and so they need a lot of that soybean meal feed. And then also gets crushed and goes into oils as well.
There's so much behind the things that we eat every single day that we don't even think about. And the soybeans, I think, are a perfect example of that. Just eating a burger or a steak or whatever and just knowing, well, what's actually feeding the cattle that I'm actually eating on right now. So,
and the other piece, about 10% of our soybeans are edible beans. So if you think about edamame beans or tofu, pieces like that too, you can enjoy some tofu once in a while. I know I like that, cooked a certain way, but there is a portion of that too, and that we do export a lot of that as well.
Commissioner Petersen, there's a lower third on our screen right now, and it says the word sorghum. There's probably a lot of people at home that don't know what sorghum is. What exactly is sorghum?
A sorghum, and sorghum is also a kind of a feed that gets fed to cattle, and we really don't grow much in Minnesota. Dakotas do, Kansas. So they have been impacted in other states. And when you impact a crop like sorghum, perhaps in the Dakotas or Kansas, some of those states that do that, it does have an impact on Minnesota too as well. We do have a few farmers. We did see some sorghum around the state this year as farmers experiment with different things. With prices and as piece like that, but it's also an animal feed as well. Good question though.
I think in an alternate universe, I really would like to be a farmer. I really am. It's a fascination of mine, and that's why I love talking to you so much, because you're so knowledgeable about all of this, and obviously oversee all of Minnesota's Department of Agriculture. Really great getting your insights, Mr. Petersen. We really appreciate your time once again. Where can people learn more about your department and all the latest things that are going on there?
Yeah, so just go right to our department website. If you're just Google Minnesota Department of Agriculture, there it is right there on the screen. And we have a lot of information on there. We have a lot of different loans and grants. We do a lot of different things for consumers, whether that's work with our grocery stores, and we do a lot of nursery and all kinds of different things. So encourage people to check that out and sign up for our mailing list. And it's still not too late to be a farmer. So you'll have some time in your life yet.
Are you a TV producer on the side? You're calling out graphics for Paul there in the booth. You got it all, Tom.
No, I just maybe someday. So yeah, still not too late, right? So,
it's not too late. It's not too late. And we'd love to have you back in studio here. That was a really great conversation.
Anytime.
That would be great.
Thank you.
Be great. Commissioner Thom Petersen of the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome. What a great conversation with Commissioner Petersen, and all about the federal bailout that's coming to American farmers. $12 billion. Of course, in Minnesota, we'll be seeing a piece of that, and a good chunk of that piece will be going to Minnesota soybean farmers as they continue to navigate President Trump's tariffs, specifically with the relationship with China, which, as Commissioner Petersen said there, is one of the largest purchasers of Minnesota soybeans of any other crop, really, in the United States. All right, we're going to stick right here in the land of 10,000 lakes coming up after this commercial break and talk all about the James J. Hill House. Maybe some of you at home know of this house. I did not know of it when I walked into work today. It's on a beautiful piece of property on absolutely stunning Summit Avenue, probably my favorite street in all of the Twin Cities. And we're going to be talking to Gibson Stanton. She is the James J. Hill's house site manager. She can tell us all about the history of the house, all about who James J. Hill was, and all about the Christmas themed celebrations that they've got going on in the house here coming up as we enter the holiday season. All that and more coming up right here on the afternoon shift. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. I just moved to Minnesota 10 months ago, and of course there are streets all over the Twin Cities that are considered iconic. Hennepin Avenue in downtown Minneapolis, Nicollet Mall in downtown Minneapolis, but my favorite of all of them is probably Summit Avenue in St. Paul, and the most famous house on Summit Avenue is the James J. Hill House. This is a spectacular piece of property there. I didn't know much about it coming into work today, but just from the research that I did, it looks absolutely stunning, and I'm so excited to bring into this conversation the James J. Hill House's site manager, Gibson Stanton to tell us all about this house. Gibson, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are you?
Hey, I'm so good. I'm glad that you're having me on this afternoon, because here's the thing. Whether you've been to Hill House or you haven't, you've grown up in St. Paul or you're new, I think being a tourist in your own city is really incredible, and the Hill House should be added to that list.
So well said, and so many people need to go see some stuff that's just in their own backyard. I love it. Can you tell us about the background that you're at right now, Gibson? Where exactly in the house are you?
Okay, so I feel really lucky that I get to be talking with you while I'm sitting in the art gallery of the James J. Hill House. So this is really the reason that Hill decided to move from the Lower Town community that he was in St. Paul up to the Summit Hill neighborhood. And it's because his art collection had outgrown the space that they had in their Lower Town house. And so this home ended up becoming almost 3 times the size of the one that they had before. And one of the most grand spaces in it is the art gallery. So
it looks amazing, especially there with the Christmas decorations. Gibson, who exactly was James J. Hill? What made him sort of a Twin Cities business icon?
I would even go so far as to say he had prominence throughout the United States and impacts on the world. So that's speaking really largely, I know, but Hill was a railroad tycoon. He came from humble means and ended up just amassing an incredible amount of business acumen that allowed him to push forward rail expansion throughout the north into Canada, out to the northwest, that had incredible impacts on the transportation of people and goods across the United States. So that is how he made his wealth. However, him and his wife did not come from families of means. And so they really, while their home suggested otherwise, they maintained more of a humble nature, around the city here. So
yeah, the CEO of Great Northern Railway, James J. Hill, and that business obviously led him to be able to build the spectacular James J. Hill House. What are some of your favorite features of the house that visitors can explore? I know there's so many.
So many. Okay, so I want to geek out for just a second. The house was completed in 1891. And when you think about St. Paul at the time, I love the picture. That's the Alexander Ramsey house. So that's another site that I manage. That's down in Irvine Park. I wish I had a picture for you of James J. Hill. That must have been.
You're good. Yes, keep going. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So 1891, it was completed. When you think about St. Paul at the time, you had the Lower Town neighborhood district, really, that had been transitioning away from being a residential area into a place of business and commerce and manufacturing. And so the Hill community up here, which Hill came up to, Summit Hill, just saw an incredible boom. And the house was completed at just under $1 million, and that included all of the furnishings. It's a 3-acre parcel, so that had landscaping on it. And so when guests come through today in 2025, I think what's so unique about the house is it transports you back to a time when craftsmanship was so different. Hill was really intentional about having a say in all of the details throughout the house, from the stained glass that you see in the grand staircase to the carvings that are everywhere around the first floor. I think the attention to detail really tells a story, and it's beautiful to either come on a tour and hear the story of the Hills, or to take time and self-guide, which is something over the last couple of years we've really expanded. So you can come in and really absorb the home as a piece of art, which Hill was, a huge supporter of the arts.
And you talk about that stained glass that's inside the house. That maybe was an allusion to James J. Hill's faith life. I know that the Archdiocese of St. Paul and Minneapolis really had a very prominent presence inside the James J. Hill house for several decades. Can you talk about the Hill daughters and them donating the house to the Archdiocese, and then ultimately the Archdiocese leaving the house, but that was a piece of property for the Archdiocese for several years?
Absolutely. So, the Catholic of the family, the really strong Catholic was Mary, Jim's wife. And while we had a large cathedral constructed towards the end of their life across the street, her community was still in Lower Town, which is where she attended Mass. However, upon their passing, a couple of the Hill daughters did pool together their resources, and they purchased the home from the estate and donated it to the archdiocese, which operated, really a school for nuns here for a while to learn how to become educators. And what I find so fascinating is that piece of the Hill House history had a longer tenure than when the Hills lived in the home. And so for nearly 50 years, the Archdiocese operated out of the home until the Historical Society purchased it because they were no longer needing the building in the same way. It had been placed on the National Register already. And so at that point, in the late 1970s, the Historical Society purchased it and started the restoration of it. And we are so grateful that really while the Archdiocese was here, they made very few alterations to the building. So that allowed for preservation work to really shine in this space. And you can see that when you walk through it today. So
yeah, Gibson, and so many of those nuns that were educated inside that home, I'm sure educated so many people across the Twin Cities, and they probably didn't even know it, that those nuns came from the James J. Hill House. That's where they received their education. Really fascinating stuff, and I absolutely love that. As I alluded to at the beginning of this interview, the house is all decked out for Christmas. What are some of the holiday-centric activities and events that you all have planned there?
Okay, so it is incredibly unique. We call it Holidays on the Hill. We have a diary from the matriarch of the family, Mary, where she every day, would write down something that was happening. So we have these documents paired with some letters from staff at the time that were in the house in 1910. And they're writing really detailed letters about what experience they're having sort of back of house in the basement as a staff person. And so we can follow from Mary's notes, from the, absolutely meticulous receipts that were kept by Hill, and from these staff letters, we were able to put together what did it look like in this house in preparing for the holidays in 1910. So we take you through that. It's almost like a roving lecture through the house. You hear the stories, you hear words from the letters. You're in all of the spaces that you can sort of immerse yourself in and imagine the family or the staff preparing and moving about in that space. So the house is dripping in Victorian-inspired decorations. So our main floor has velvet and greenery. And I counted our trees. We have 14 additional trees than what Mary would have had. But we have 16 trees, which is the same number of cut crystal chandeliers we have in the house. So as a fun little way to explore the house, we encourage you to find all those trees throughout the house.
Oh, sounds fascinating. Yeah. What can a visitor expect when they show up at the house for a tour? Do you guide tours yourself? Are there tour guides, or is it more self-guided experiences?
Such a great question. We have an incredible team here we call ourselves the Ram Hill staff because our staff provide programming at Ramsey House and at Hill House. So our interpreters are also known as tour guides, are the ones that are conducting tours. We have guided tours numerous times throughout the day. All of our available times are on the website. But if at any point you don't see a ticket there for our Holidays on the Hill program, know that you can come in and do self-guided. You can't purchase that online. You can only do that at the door. And so there's an opportunity every day for you to come through the house, even if it's not on a tour. If you do get a guided tour, you have the ability to self-guide throughout the house. We just want people to be able to take the time in the space that they'd like, to be able to really absorb all of the different facets there. There are 4 floors that you're going through, 36,000 square feet. It is really a huge mansion.
I would love to go. You have completely sold me. And I will hopefully I'll be there before the holidays come up. Gibson, can you tell people where they can look at the tour schedule and purchase tickets as well?
Absolutely. So mnhs.org, Minnesota Historical Society, right there on our landing page for the James J. Hill House, we have holiday tickets, so you can click through there. Tours are Thursday through Sunday. most Thursdays and Fridays. We have a couple of holidays sprinkled in there, and we go through the first weekend in January. So you can really get an opportunity to soak up the holidays here at the Hill House.
I love it. I love it. Gibson Stanton, the James J. Hill House's site manager. Gibson, I think you hit the nail on the head at the beginning of this interview. There's so many great things just right here in our backyard that we maybe drive past a million times and don't even know what's inside these beautiful pieces of property. The James J. Hill House seems to be one of them in beautiful St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm going to try to pay you all a visit before December 25th.
Please, we welcome you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Gibson. We appreciate it. That was awesome. That was awesome. I got to get to the James J. Hill House. I'm not sure if any of you all at home have been there before, but it seems so exciting. And if you really love architecture, you love art, and you love history, what a marriage between those three subject matters right there. Right again in our backyard at the James J. Hill House.
It's an interesting thing too that I was reading an article the other day about best ways to budget and to save money at this time. You know, things are tight. People, you know, being a tourist in your own city was one of their main recommendations. Is like get out and see the places right now while things are tight and while you're not, you know, go and see the stuff that's on your doorstep, so you're not spending the money to travel really far to see stuff. Because a place like Minnesota, like, I mean, that amazing house at this time of year with all the Christmas decorations up, you're not going to get anything that feels more whimsical and magical like Christmas than that.
That's it. That's it. That's it. And you can make a whole day out of it, even if you don't live in St. Paul. Go to the James J. Hill House, go to dinner. You're not far from some of the best restaurants in all of the Twin Cities when you're at the James J. Hill House right there on Summit Hill in St. Paul. What a really special piece of property and a really special interview there with Gibson Stanton, the James J. Hill House's site manager. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we are going to come back. It'll be just past the 4 o'clock hour. We're going to recap what we did. We're going to look ahead to what's to come, and then we're going to get into more afternoon shift. Don't go anywhere. It's just another Manic Monday here at Fox 9. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. It is 4:02 here in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. We've had an awesome show so far here. We had Jim Rich in studio to talk about the state of the Vikings. We had on Commissioner Thom Petersen from the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. And then if you were just tuning into our show, we just talked to the James J. Hill House's site manager in beautiful St. Paul, Minnesota. Happenings that are going on at the James J. Hill House. And coming up in this hour, you're not going to want to miss it. Of course, you probably saw yesterday the Gophers, if you're a Gopher football fan, they're going to be playing in the Rape Bowl down in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona on December 26th. We actually talked to the Fiesta Sports Foundation's executive director. So the Fiesta Sports Foundation puts on the Rape Bowl every single year. We talked to their executive director all about Minnesota's visit there coming up this holiday season. And then we're going to be going to Target Center and talking to Pierre Noujaim, who's going to be on the court at Target Center. The Minnesota Timberwolves are riding a 5-game winning streak, and they're back in action tonight at 6:30 against the Phoenix Suns at home, looking to win 6 straight games. So we'll be talking to Pierre all about the Timberwolves as well. But Paul, I'm going to bring you into the conversation here. The Gophers, they're going to Phoenix, Arizona for the Rape Bowl, and it really got me thinking. If you're going to go anywhere in the continental United States, so Hawaii's out of the question. You got to stay within the continental U.S.
And I can't say Alaska.
You can't say Alaska, even though Jim wants me to go to Alaska.
I want to go to Alaska. That's my number one state that I want to see.
What, of all the states, that's number one for you, Alaska?
Absolutely, without
Interesting.
a question.
Why is that?
Because of all the wildlife.
Oh, right. How could I forget?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's like it's America's like most wild state. I want to go there.
You know, it's America's biggest state too in terms of land size.
It is.
Yes.
It is, and it's the most. Isn't it the most easterly?
Oh yes, by far.
Most easterly and most westerly. It's like there's a weird quirk.
Oh,
whereas
right.
the time zone actually pops over on one island. So
That's right.
It's a weird. Yeah. It's just a curious place.
That's right.
The history of it is fascinating.
All right, I want to know the top.
Russian, all that stuff.
Yes, of course.
Okay, lower 50 though. That's what you want to get.
No, I'm curious. Your top 3 U.S. states that you haven't been to that you want to get to. Your top 3.
I haven't been.
So we'll take in Hawaii and Alaska here. So Alaska's number 1. So what's 2 and 3?
Hawaii's 2.
Oh, okay. All right. So both of them then.
Yeah, and then probably Maine.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, because it is the. I think it has the most moose out of all the states except Alaska.
Maine is also the home of my favorite bottled water brand in the United States, Poland Spring.
You have a favorite everything. I love that. It's like literally any single thing you've got a favorite version of it of. I couldn't tell you a water bottle brand, a bottled water that I like.
Yeah, they bottle every drop of that in Maine. So I got to get to Maine too. I haven't really done much New England. I've been to Massachusetts and a little bit of Rhode Island. But
I think you'd love Vermont. Have you been to Vermont?
I have not been to Vermont.
A lot of churches.
Lots of churches in
Lots
Vermont.
of cute little white churches everywhere, but I'm not sure they're Catholic. I imagine.
Yeah. Probably not a lot of Catholic. That would probably be a little bit more Protestant. But you know what is in Vermont? Lots of Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
I've been to the like flagship first store there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So New England's definitely on the list. I would like to get to Washington State. I've been to Seattle Airport, but I've never been to Washington State before.
Really beautiful. I was very lucky to do a big road trip out west and all the way from we drove in to Oregon and went down to like the giant redwoods and then back up again all the way back up into Washington. Yeah. Beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, I would like to do that. There's also like other parts of like Western states. You know, obviously like the state of Nevada. Spent a lot of time in Las Vegas. Spent a lot of time in Reno actually too, Lake Tahoe. But there's so much to Nevada that I feel like is worth seeing. Mountainous, desertous. It's places like that are just kind of the more remote locations that I'd really love to get to one day as well. So
what are your top 3 that you'd like to get to?
Of states I have not been to. This is a tough question because I'm very blessed and fortunate that I have been to the vast majority of U.S. states. I would say I'm gonna put Vermont in the mix there. I'll also put New Hampshire in the mix as well. Both of those states they seem similar, but I know that they're very different and very very distinct. Both of them. So I would like to get to both of those places. Kind of hard to get to. It shouldn't be that hard to get to, but they kind of are. So would like to get to those places. And then I'm going to take a cue out of your book there, Paul. I'm going to say Wyoming because isn't that the site of, is that Yosemite is in Wyoming, right?
No, Yosemite's in California.
Yellowstone. That's it.
Yellowstone's a really curious place. It's kind of technically in 3 states, but it is mostly in Wyoming. Yeah, and if you go to Wyoming, then you can also do Grand Tetons National Park. Definitely Wyoming's amazing. The other one I would recommend though is Montana. I think you'd really like Montana.
Yes. Oklahoma, and that's a state I should have gotten to by now, but I haven't been to Oklahoma. I'd like to do Oklahoma.
Drive-through state, I think.
What? That's a flyover state. That's my grandmother used to say that's the crawfish calling the lobster red, saying that's a flyover state coming from Minnesota. I digress. That wasn't meant as a slight. I do love Oklahoma. I'd like to go to a game at the University of Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma. All right. We're going to stay on the topic of football. Oklahoma's in the college football playoff. The University of Minnesota's football team is in a bowl game in Phoenix, Arizona against the University of New Mexico. And we just talked to Eric Moses, the executive director of the Fiesta Sports Foundation. He is overseeing the Rate Bowl, which is happening on December 26th, live at Chase Field, the home of the Arizona Diamondbacks. That conversation with Eric Moses and all the information you need to know about Minnesota and their bowls and their bowl game coming up later this month is coming up right after this commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. Probably saw it yesterday. The Gopher football team, they're going bowling. They're going to be playing in the Rate Bowl down in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, the day after Christmas, December 26th, against the New Mexico Lobos. Here to tell us more is the executive director of the Fiesta Sports Foundation, Mr. Eric Moses. Eric, welcome to the afternoon shift. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. It's bowl season, so I could not be better. I appreciate being with you today.
No doubt. We're excited to have you here today, and we're excited for the Gophers to be able to go down to Arizona around Christmas time. Can you tell us how excited is the Fiesta Sports Foundation and the Rate Bowl Committee to have Minnesota in this game?
We couldn't be more excited. We had great experience with Minnesota and the Golden Gophers back in 2021 when they played in this game. And so we are really pleased to invite the team back to the Valley of the Sun to compete this year in the Rate Bowl against a very resurgent New Mexico Lobos team.
That's right. I know fans are excited too. Gopher fans, Eric, They travel very well. There were 2 West Coast games they had this year. One at Cal Berkeley. They really showed up at Memorial Stadium over there. And then one at Oregon at Autzen Stadium. There was a lot of maroon and gold there. Why should Gopher fans really consider coming to this game? I know it's right around the holidays, the day after Christmas. What's the selling point to get down there?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I think, Adam, the selling point really is, one, your team has had a solid season this year. They are defending a 8 consecutive bowl victory streak, which is the best in college football. And so I'm sure that Coach Fleck and the team want to extend that to 9 consecutive bowl victories. And so they're going to want their fans and their faithful there to cheer them on for that. The other thing, which hopefully goes without saying, is that today it'll be a balmy 72 degrees here. And so we think it'll be a little bit warmer than in Minneapolis and across your state on the day after Christmas. So this is really a great destination to come to during the holidays, to enjoy holidays in the desert, the great weather. You can still play golf here. Our spas and resorts are beautiful and fantastic. Our restaurant scene is amazing. And so it really is the kind of outing for the whole family.
Well said there. It's 13 degrees right now in the Twin Cities. And you mentioned golf. Minnesotans really do love golf. I think that this state has one of the highest rates of golf courses per square mile. So it really is it's an awesome thing, and plenty of beautiful golf courses down there in the Valley of the Sun. Speaking of other activities outside of just the game, what are some other activities that fans can look forward to if they go down there? I know bowls are obviously they're centered around the actual game itself, but it's really more of an event than just the singular game.
Yeah, no, you're right. And for this game, most of what we do is concentrated around the game, understanding that people may be celebrating the holidays with Christmas the day before, what have you, and we're giving them this great opportunity here locally to get out and stretch your legs a little bit after that big Christmas meal, and maybe for some of us spending maybe a little bit more time with family than we might like to. So we give you a chance to get out and have some fun downtown at Chase Field. The transformation of that baseball field into a football stadium is great to watch. It provides fantastic views and close-up proximity to the action. And so Fan Festival before the game is going to be fantastic. The city of Phoenix and downtown Phoenix really provides a lot for our visitors to do and to enjoy when they come here for the football game.
I love it. And Chase Field is such a beautiful venue. I've had the chance to catch some Diamondbacks games there in the past. So it really is a great venue. Eric, how long have you been involved with the Fiesta Sports Foundation, and why is it so important to you to be involved in this game? What's the best part about your job?
Well, so I just celebrated my 3rd anniversary here, and love being in the Valley as an East Coast guy who has found his way west. I enjoy it, especially this time of year, because it reminds us why we live here, right? It's the 70-degree weather in the wintertime that we love. I will tell you, while we are an organization that produces 2 postseason college football games, obviously the Rate Bowl, but also the Verbo Fiesta Bowl, which will be a semifinal this year in the playoffs on January 8th, what we're really dedicated to is providing positive economic development and charitable resources to communities all across the state of Arizona. And so Golden Gopher fans that make their way to the Valley to support their team will also be supporting us in the great works that we do across the state 12 months out of the year. We just celebrated the 10th anniversary of our signature charitable program, which is called Wishes for Teachers, where this year we will award 540 Arizona teachers with $2,500 grants to help aid the experiences and the resources in their classrooms to help make certain that the learning environment for the young people is all that it can be. And then this year, for the first time, we're awarding $350,000 grants to 3 different schools here in the state of Arizona to take on some larger products. So what we do here is we use these football games and all of the positive economic impact that comes from them to give back to communities in need all across the state of Arizona.
And it's such great work that you all are doing down there, and it's such an important part of the Rate Bowl experience as well. Eric, where can Minnesota fans find, maybe there's a preferred team hotel, maybe there are preferred team activities that are going to be surrounded for Minnesota fans specifically. Where can they find out more information about that?
Well, ratebowl.com is the best place to get all those answers. We are, as you can imagine, with Selection Sunday being yesterday, we are quickly embedding with our counterparts and colleagues from the University of Minnesota, hoping that the university will lean in and that we'll have some things for alumni and fans to do when they get here to the Valley, so that they have every opportunity to enjoy not only the weather, all that our destination has to offer, while also celebrating another really solid season and getting ready, like I said, to defend that 8-game win.
Absolutely. Eric, there are lots of great places to eat in Phoenix. I've had the chance to spend a lot of time there as well. If you had to give one restaurant recommendation for Minnesota sports fans, where do they got to go to when they get down for the Ray Bowl?
Oh my goodness, that is so hard to do, and I'm so afraid of offending any of our hospitality partners. I will say in Phoenix, I would say Hillstone is a great place to go to, very solid. If you're looking more upscale, Cafe Monarch is fantastic. James Beard awarded chefs there. And Raymond Wolf downtown is a fantastic place to go as well. But you really can't go wrong here. There is, as my waistline would attest, there are many great places to eat here, and I have been making my way through them for the last 3 years.
Hillstone is fantastic. And by the way, folks, and I know my co-host Max doesn't really care for it too much, I'm a big fan of In-N-Out Burger. Plenty of In-N-Out locations in the Phoenix metropolitan area. You can go get all the doubles that you want if you go catch the Golden Gophers down at the Ray Bowl. Eric Moses, the executive director of the Fiesta Sports Foundation. We appreciate your time, Eric, this morning. Thank you so much, and we're looking forward to the Gophers playing in the Ray Bowl on December 26th.
As are we. Thanks for having me, Adam. And we want you and everybody else in the state of Minnesota that are going to support the Gophers to come on down. It's going to be a fantastic game, great weather, and a beautiful place to celebrate your holidays.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Eric. Happy holidays to you. We're going to have more to come from the afternoon shift after this, folks. Don't miss the Gophers down in the Ray Bowl. It's going to be a great atmosphere down there in Arizona. I've had the chance to spend some significant time in Arizona around bowl season in previous years, and there really is no other place like it in the United States. It's going to be a lot of fun down there for the Gophers. All right, more to come from the afternoon shift right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. The Minnesota Timberwolves, they're riding a 5-game winning streak and are back in action tonight at home against the Phoenix Suns. Joining us now from the Target Center with Anthony Edwards right behind him is Fox 9 sports reporter Pierre Noujaim. Pierre, look at Anthony. He's looking right at the camera right now.
You don't need to see me in the shot. I'm going to get out of this shot right now. And Anthony Edwards warming up as we speak right now, getting ready to go for tonight's game against Phoenix. Tip-off, early scheduled tip-off tonight at 6:30. And Minnesota looking for their 6th victory in a row. And Adam, if we could, if I just wanted to point out that I'm hearing myself back just a little bit here, but I'm going to try to get through this here with you. But yeah, 6:30 tip-off time here tonight against Phoenix, and they will be going for 6 in a row. That is the situation here for Minnesota as they get set to take on Phoenix.
There you go, Pierre. There you go. Listen, the Timberwolves, they were a little mediocre out of the gate this season, but ever since that loss to OKC the day before Thanksgiving, they've really turned it on. They've won 5 straight games. What would you say is chief to this winning streak that they've been on?
Well, the interesting thing that we've seen with this team over the last few games, 2 out of the last 3 games, they've been down by double digits and were able to come back and win the game. Now, we give them full credit for doing so and things like that, but I know Chris Finch is probably thinking to himself, I don't want to have us dig out of holes game after game, but they have the type of firepower that very few teams in this league have with Anthony Edwards, Julius Randle, and we really need to talk about what Jaden McDaniels has been doing for this team so far this season, averaging career highs in minutes, averaging career highs, points, field goal percentage, 3-point percentage. He has been absolutely sensational and vital to this team. Led the team in scoring the other night here when the Timberwolves came back to knock off the Clippers. So it's been a very well-balanced attack here for Minnesota in the early portion of the season. I know Chris Finch has accused his team of sometimes being a little bit bored defensively, but they played great defense in the second half the other night against the Clippers, and we'll see if they're able to do it again here tonight against Phoenix.
Yeah, and the last time, Pierre, that the Timberwolves played Phoenix on November 21st, they were up by 8 with 1 minute and 9 seconds remaining, and they eventually lost by 1. Probably the toughest loss that the Timberwolves have taken this season. You think the team is still in the back of their heads, that loss going into tonight's game?
I'm sure they haven't forgotten about it by any means. I'm sure at this point they would love to put it behind them. But yeah, that was a loss that really stung the Timberwolves in that situation. Like you said, they were up 8 in the final stages and somehow found a way to lose that game. And I know that didn't sit right with the rest of the team because they had a tough road trip. After that game, they lost in Sacramento. They lost at Oklahoma City. So it was a difficult road trip for the team in that stretch that was, catapulted by that tough loss in Phoenix. But tonight they have an opportunity for revenge. It's a different looking Phoenix team here tonight. No Devin Booker, no Jalen Green. So it's going to be a very interesting opportunity for Minnesota to get back in the win column, get a little revenge against these Phoenix Suns.
Yeah, and we just saw Anthony Edwards taking some warm-up shots behind you at the start of this segment. I know he was listed as questionable for tonight's game with an illness. Are you hearing anything? Have you seen anything you think he's going to play tonight?
He certainly looked okay taking warm-ups here in the early portion of the warm-up schedule, so I think he's going to be just fine going tonight. We'll get the official word from Chris Finch. He is scheduled to speak with reporters in about a little over 15 minutes. Chris Finch is going to take the podium for the pregame conversation, so we'll get an official word from him in just a few minutes. But Anthony Edwards looked just fine taking warm-up shots out here, but we'll wait to see the official confirmation in just a few minutes.
Absolutely. Pierre, look, it's only December 8th. Right now, the Timberwolves hold the 6th seed in the West. Good positioning. You want to kind of stay 6 and above to avoid the play-in game. How early is too early to start looking at standings over the course of the NBA season?
Well, I'd say right now is too early. Certainly right now is way too early. I probably don't start paying attention to the standings until about February. I think February is really right when you're starting to get an idea of what moves you need to make. The trade deadline hovers around that time, and you need to see where you are in terms of conference standings. And yeah, like you said, Adam, you want to avoid 7 through 10. You want to avoid that play-in tournament as much as you possibly can, get in that top 6. Minnesota was able to do that last year. They finished with the 6th seed and went on to the Western Conference Finals. So just avoid that play-in tourney, and you're going to be fine. I mean, even if you make the play-in tourney, you'll probably still be okay, especially when I'm talking for the Minnesota Timberwolves. They'll probably be all right, but you want to avoid the play-in if you possibly can and avoid putting extra taxing on your body to play extra games when you don't have to. So if you can avoid the 7th or 8th seed, avoid a team like Oklahoma City, who has been shot out of a cannon this season so far, that would certainly help your chances of reaching another Western Conference Finals. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. Pierre, I know the Timberwolves, they've struggled this year against teams with a winning record. They're finally in the win column in that category. They're not 0-4 anymore, but the Phoenix Suns do have a winning record tonight. Does tonight feel like a little bit of a bigger game? Does it feel elevated, maybe more so than just the typical Monday night home game?
That's not the impression that I get, to be perfectly honest with you. An early December game, yeah, Minnesota's in 6th, and Phoenix currently is in 7th. But like we just said a moment ago, it's not the same Phoenix team that we saw a couple of weeks ago. Again, Jalen Green out. Dylan Brooks is listed as a game-time decision, but he did play the other night against Houston. And, of course, Devin Booker is not going to play in tonight's game. So certainly a good opportunity for Minnesota to keep this win streak going. But just because they're right next to each other in the standings in early December, I don't consider it a big game or a game that's more important than any other game that's going to be coming down the pipe. So if you want to look at it as just any other regular Monday night in the NBA, I don't think that's a bad thing by any means. But Minnesota is just looking to try to go 1-0, if I could borrow a phrase from PJ Fleck, just go 1-0 on the day against Phoenix.
And that's why you're such a pro, Pierre, because that's my segue into my next question there, all about Minnesota football. We just got done talking to the Fiesta Sports Foundation, all about the Rate Bowl. Minnesota will be playing New Mexico on December 26th. How would you summarize this season for the Gophers? Dare I say, how would you rate this season for the Gophers as they go into the Rate Bowl later this month?
Very good play on words there. Well done. Well done indeed, Adam. I would say in all honesty, listen, my opinion means very, very little. I certainly understand that. But at the beginning of the season, when I looked at the schedule, we had our first Gopher pregame show of the season. I looked at the schedule. I saw the talent that I was on this team. And I said to myself, this team should win no less than 8 games. I felt 8 games was the floor for Gopher football. And they finished 7-5. So, to me personally, I thought the team didn't get the job done at times. We saw what happened against Northwestern. That was an opportunity that was given away. They almost lost to Michigan State at home. But, you credit to them, they did come back and win that game. But I still felt this team, and I know they're young. I know PJ Fleck will tell you that they're playing a lot of players that are young and that they don't have a lot of experience and they have to grow up fast. But I think I was left wanting just a little bit more from this team. Drake Lindsay had a good freshman season. Everybody is hoping that he will come back and be a Minnesota Golden Gopher in the future. But at 7-5, it's tough to do in the Big Ten Conference. There's no question about it, especially with some of the teams that you're playing. But when you looked at the schedule at the beginning of the season, I felt that Minnesota was capable of winning 8 games. They did not do that. So for me, it's a little bit of a letdown, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, Minnesota 7-0 at home, 0-5 on the road. We'll see if they're able to get their first win away from Minneapolis down in Phoenix later this month. Pierre, while I have you, it's the biggest story right now in the world of college football. The College Football Selection Committee designated the 12 teams for the playoff yesterday. Obviously, my alma mater getting kind of the short end of the stick of there and getting left out. What's your whole perspective on the playoff and the bowl system now? There seems to be a bit of a national conversation that's kind of emerged about all of this.
To be perfectly honest with you, I wish we would go back to 4 teams. I really wish we would just go back to the top 4 teams. I think that would make things a lot easier. I don't need to see the field expanded. I didn't need to see the field expanded. A lot of this is about greed and opportunity. I certainly understand people want to sell it to you like you want to give an opportunity to other teams, but make no mistake about it, everything is about money all the time, no matter what anyone says. That being said, in the case of Notre Dame, I was surprised that they were left out of it, but the problem is, Adam, when you look at the rankings week in and week out, Notre Dame was constantly ranked ahead of Miami every single week. And then suddenly this week, they flip-flopped. Why? Why was the problem? I don't think the problem was exactly the result. The problem was the process leading to where we are right now. I understand that Notre Dame had a sensational season, but Miami did beat Notre Dame earlier in the season. So why did Notre Dame get ranked ahead of Miami all these weeks leading up to this week, and then suddenly we have a flip-flop at the end? That part I don't understand at all. Alabama does have 3 losses, but I feel that you should not be punished, at least not heavily by any means, for losing in a conference championship game. If you're good enough to get to a conference championship game, I still think that should count for something. But we're taking the importance of conference championship games, we're taking the importance of it away a little bit more and more with expanding the field and leaving a little more room for error. It starts to get a little murky there. So, with the 2 at large, it is what it is. I know a lot of people would say just get rid of the 2 at large and, put Notre Dame and another team in there. But listen, it's hard. This is a really flawed system. I'm not exactly sure what they're going to do to make it get better. But my biggest issue with Notre Dame being left out is the fact that Notre Dame was consistently ranked ahead of Miami for several weeks up until this weekend. And then you make the switch. Why wasn't Miami ranked ahead of Notre Dame going into the season? You could have avoided this whole thing. So that's really where I stand right now with how things shape out in college football.
Yeah, and of course, both Miami and Notre Dame were both idle this week too, so it's not like one team played and another team didn't. They both went into the week the same way, so it doesn't really make very much sense, and I knew you'd have some good perspective on it. Finally, before I let you go,
to be honest with you, I just want to point out one quick thing. I would have had no problem. Even though I just said I don't think teams should be heavily punished for losing a conference championship game, I would have had no problem with Alabama being left out. They lost to Florida State in the opener. I know they were a different team by the end of the season, but Alabama kind of dug its own grave with 3 losses. So I wouldn't have had a problem with Alabama being left out, and especially when you think about Alabama and BYU. Alabama was not punished for losing the conference championship game. BYU was absolutely punished for losing the way they did at Texas Tech in the Big 12 championship. So why is the standard different for Alabama as opposed to BYU? That's another issue that I would love to see addressed moving forward.
Pierre, before we let you go, I'm going to jump in with a very pressing question. You ready?
Please.
So,
Yes, I'm ready.
Shot, and this probably speaks to how much of a nervous Nelly I am, but you've got that beautiful shot. Shout out to Richard. Great shot there. So close, down on the floor. Have you ever got hit in the back of the head by one of those balls? Because they've been flying past you, left, right, and center.
I don't exactly recall if I've been hit in the head. I have been hit like in the hip or the back. That has happened. I don't recall it happening during a live shot, thankfully. But yes, that has happened. But as far as I can recall, the head is just fine, and I've survived all the dangers being down here courtside at NBA action. Yeah.
Because you have brought us really courtside. That's impressive. It's 10 out of 10 shot there.
It is a great shot.
Perfect timing with Anthony Edwards. Yeah, and now we've got a couple of the other players out here. Johnny Juzang's out here. Leonard Miller's out here. Everybody getting the warm-up in before we set for tip-off here tonight between Minnesota and Phoenix.
Yeah, I was going to say the Anthony Edwards shot right at the top there was perfect timing. Hey, Pierre, real quick before we let you go, I'm going to throw you a little bit of a Sandy Koufax curveball here. Monday Night Football, you got the Eagles at the Chargers. Huge game, huge implications for both teams. The Chargers are a 2.5-point dog in Inglewood at SoFi Stadium. Who you got?
It's a tough one because, without Jalen Carter and Lane Johnson, I think that really affects Philadelphia. I mean, you got two of your most important guys in the trenches on both sides of the ball that will not play in tonight's game, and I think that's going to matter. Omarion Hampton was activated and could play in tonight's game for the Chargers. That will certainly be a big boost to their offense. But how healthy is Justin Herbert? That's really my question right now. How healthy is Justin Herbert? And even though the LA Chargers are at home tonight, for some reason, I still like Philadelphia to win this game here tonight. I think it's going to be a close game, no doubt about it. But I think the Philadelphia Eagles will find a way to pull this win out here tonight in LA.
I'm with you, too. I think the public sentiment is everybody just thinks the sky is falling all the time with Philly. I'm with you. I think Philly's going to come out strong tonight and get it done in beautiful Inglewood, California. You're at beautiful Target Center in downtown Minneapolis. Huge game for the Timberwolves tonight. Timberwolves Suns, 6:30. Pierre, we really do appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great to be with you guys.
Awesome. Pierre, what a pro right there, and had the shot of Anthony Edwards right as we were coming on the air. Of course, Anthony Edwards is questionable tonight with an illness. You saw it there for yourself, folks. He looked pretty good shooting some warm-up threes there, as Pierre said, in about 10 minutes here at 4:45. We're going to find out, right from the Timberwolves, if Anthony Edwards is in fact a go tonight from head coach Chris Finch. All right, we're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we are going to replay our conversation earlier with Commissioner Thom Petersen of the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, all about this $12 billion bailout coming in from the White House to benefit American farmers, specifically Minnesota soybean farmers. That conversation will be coming up right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. The big news of the day, the White House announced a $12 billion bailout to American farmers. Of course, the state of Minnesota will be receiving a slice of that cut, and a big portion of that slice will go to Minnesota's soybean farmers, which have been hit hard from the president's tariffs, particularly as it pertains to China, which is one of the biggest purchasers of Minnesota soybeans. Earlier in today's show, we had the opportunity to chat with Commissioner Thom Petersen of the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, and we are going to replay that clip right now. Here's Commissioner Petersen. Thank you so much for making time for us, Commissioner Petersen. We really do appreciate it. Let's just take a step back before we get into the actual bailout announcement that came out of the White House today. How did we get to this place where a federal bailout needed to be sent for farmers?
Well, it's kind of been an ongoing piece that's actually snowballed for a couple of years here. It hasn't been, there's a lot of emphasis on the tariffs and everything else, but farmers have kind of seen flat prices for the last couple of years. We've also seen as rising input costs. So think about seed, land rent, land purchases itself, fertilizer, pesticides, all those things, parts for your combine or your tractors. All those things have been raising up in price too as well. So when the price at the marketplace that the farmer gets isn't there, those inputs really hit hard because there's nowhere to pass that on to. And then as we got into this first part of the year and we had the tariffs take place and we had China exit the market and not make any purchases until just recently, that really threw a big hit, especially to our soybean farmers. And of course, China being our biggest trading partner for soybeans in general, that was difficult. So, good to see the news today of the bailout or payments or whatever you want to call it. They're calling it a bridge payment. But that to me is a Band-Aid, and it's welcome because farmers do need it right now, but we'll see what the future brings.
Yeah, and you talk about this these payments that are coming, $12 billion. That's nationwide. That's for American farmers. What slice of that pie is the state of Minnesota going to get?
Well, that's to be determined, and it's actually going to be $11 million for our big commodity crops like corn, soybeans. We plant 8 million acres of corn, 7 million acres of soybeans, 1 million acres of wheat. We also have farmers that raise oats that are going to be impacted by this, and canola. One other good thing I did see in this today, and again, we're just getting the details, was that there's $1 million set aside for specialty crops. And so they don't nearly get enough news, but they've also had a hard time this last year. So think apples. We have a lot of apple farmers. We have a lot of fruit and vegetable growers in Minnesota. They will also see that. And the payments, we're told, will be made by February 28th of next year, and that the application process will be easy for farmers. But we'll be going through the details here in the next couple of days.
Commissioner Petersen, you called this federal bailout more of a Band-Aid than anything else. What do you think is the actual long-term solution here?
Well, we need some stability in our markets. What I'd like to see and get back to is that America returns to the trusted trading partner that we've been. I have been just recently in Europe with Governor Walz, and twice actually in the last couple of months on trade missions. We've hosted other delegations from Taiwan, Southeast Asia, and Europe. And, the piece of it there is the unknown part of how our tariffs are working. Are they on? Are they off? What's the rate? Switzerland, for example, when we visited there, they had a 39% tariff. That has impacted our businesses, our farm businesses here in Minnesota. And they cut that tariff to 15% just a couple of weeks ago, but it's still a 15% tariff that's passed on to somebody. And so, those continuing changing markets are very difficult. So we need some stability in our markets. We need to return to a trusted trading partner because otherwise those countries are going to turn to other countries, which they already have, whether that's Brazil or Argentina. If we see Ukraine enter the market again, and Russia, we have to continue to see that. But, we'll go with the news today and hopefully that's a good start and hope that things improve.
Commissioner Petersen, what would you say is the relationship right now between Minnesota's soybean farmers and the country of China? Is it a good one? I know you said just recently that business has kind of continued to pick up, but where do you think it stands right now on December 8th?
Well, I'm optimistic that it's improved. So we had the deal that President Trump, President Xi signed, that'll bring a $12 billion purchase here by the end of the year. And I would say it looks like they're behind on those payments, right now, and those shipments. And so we hope that catches up. And then $24 billion next year. And so we want to see those come to fruition. It's one thing to have an agreement. It's one thing to have a purchase and an actual delivery. The other thing that I think is important in that agreement is they called for détente, or a cooling off period, kind of what I was just talking about, that, hey, we're going to spend some time here and not change things. This is the deal. We're both going to honor it, and we're both going to kind of cooler heads prevail. Farmers kind of need that, right now. There's a lot of ups and downs, a lot of, just not knowing what's going to happen. When you look at Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, there's a new announcement. So some détente in that. And so I say it's improving. I'm an optimist. I probably wouldn't do this job if I wasn't, and so hoping for that too, as we go forward.
Commissioner Petersen, there's probably a lot of people at home wondering, okay, the $12 billion bailout is great. Why not just cancel the tariffs that kind of maybe led to this problem in the first place? What would you say to that?
Well, it's complicated, but you kind of bring up a good point in a roundabout way. What I keep saying is, where have we gotten with the tariffs? Basically, we're going to get back to where we were 2 years ago with purchases. We're going to be about the same amount that we were, only we went through this whole craziness of tariffs and paying all these things and delays and unknowns that really did disrupt our markets somewhat. and caused a lot of anxiety in the countryside. And so that's a good question, and something that I've been asking as we move forward. Again, is what's our policy going to continue to be with tariffs? And so, but I'm not sure what we ended up getting in the end.
Yeah. Another thing that people at home probably don't know or are asking is, they see you talk about all the other crops that Minnesota produces, corn, apples, wheat, all these other things. Soybeans, it's not something that you and I that we just normally eat as a snack or as a dinner centerpiece. Why are soybeans so important to Minnesota's agricultural economy?
Yeah, in many different ways they are. Think about it as a livestock feed. It's an excellent livestock feed. So getting crushed and being fed to a lot of hogs. A lot of our soybeans stay here in the state. We're number 2 in hog production. We have a lot of cattle, dairy cattle. So that is really helpful. And then biodiesel or biofuels is another part of that. And so whatever we can do to add into that. So you might not think about that, but when you're enjoying your hamburger, your steak, or your pork chop, there's a good chance they ate some soybean meal along the way. And so China also is a large hog, and they eat a lot of pork. And so they need a lot of that soybean meal feed. And then also gets crushed and goes into oils as well.
There's so much behind the things that we eat every single day that we don't even think about. And the soybeans, I think, are a perfect example of that. Just eating a burger or a steak or whatever and just knowing, what's actually feeding the cattle that I'm actually eating on right now. So
And the other piece, about 10% of our soybeans are edible beans. So if you think about edamame beans or tofu, pieces like that too, you can enjoy some tofu once in a while. I know I like that. Cooked a certain way, but there is a portion of that too, and that we do export a lot of that as well.
Commissioner Petersen, there's a lower third on our screen right now, and it says the word sorghum. There's probably a lot of people at home that don't know what sorghum is. What exactly is sorghum?
A sorghum, and sorghum is also a kind of a feed that gets fed to cattle, and we really don't grow much in Minnesota. Dakotas do, Kansas. So they have been impacted in other states. And when you impact a crop like sorghum, perhaps in the Dakotas or Kansas, some of those states that do that, it does have an impact on Minnesota too as well. We do have a few farmers. We did see some sorghum around the state this year as farmers experiment with different things. With prices and as piece like that, but it's also an animal feed as well. Good question though.
I think in an alternate universe, I really would like to be a farmer. I really am. It's a fascination of mine, and that's why I love talking to you so much, because you're so knowledgeable about all of this, and obviously oversee all of Minnesota's Department of Agriculture. Really great getting your insights, Mr. Petersen. We really appreciate your time once again. Where can people learn more about your department and all the latest things that are going on there?
Yeah, so just go right to our department website. If you're just Google Minnesota Department of Agriculture, there it is right there on the screen. And we have a lot of information on there. We have a lot of different loans and grants. We do a lot of different things for consumers, whether that's work with our grocery stores, and we do a lot of nursery and all kinds of different things. So encourage people to check that out and sign up for our mailing list. And it's still not too late to be a farmer. So you'll have some time in your life yet.
Are you a TV producer on the side? You're calling out graphics for Paul there in the booth. You got it all, Tom.
No, I just maybe someday. So yeah, still not too late, right? So,
it's not too late. It's not too late. And we'd love to have you back in studio here. That was a really great conversation.
Anytime.
That would be great.
Thank
That'd
you.
be great. Commissioner Thom Petersen of the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. Appreciate it. That was Commissioner Thom Petersen. He's the best, and we really would love to have him back here in studio with us. And hey, like I said, maybe he's got a future in TV ahead of him. You never know. He certainly does a great job with the agriculture here in the state of Minnesota. All right, we are going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we are going to round out today's show. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the afternoon shift. It's been a very fun episode for everybody, and especially for me and Paul and everybody that we've interviewed today. So much information coming out of Minnesota today and beyond, sports, agriculture, art, just right in our capital city of St. Paul at the James J. Hill House. We've kind of covered it all today, Paul. What do you think?
We even had Anthony Edwards on the show.
Anthony Edwards had a live cameo on our show as well. That's right.
I think Anthony Edwards may have accidentally also dropped a word he probably shouldn't say on live television.
It's live TV, folks.
But it's live television. It's what we do. We apologise if anyone was listening and was offended by that. But we can't really speak on behalf of Anthony Edwards. I don't know. Do sports people do that these days? Do they all just swear all the time?
He's warming up. I did see when after he slipped up there, he turned. There was a family sitting courtside with I think a couple young children, and he turned and he apologized. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry." So he knew what he did. And he knew, and he slipped up, and he went forth. So
that was
hey,
it
cool,
happens. Though you were saying that there was questions about whether Ant was going to be out there today, and actually to see him there, and it looked like he was. I don't know. We couldn't see the net, so we couldn't see how well he was doing, but he looked like he was there, ready to play.
That's right. Yeah, apparently he's feeling a little under the weather today. It probably has been announced by now. I wasn't checking the latest there about his status for tonight's game at 6:30, but I know he was feeling a little under the weather. But he did look good in those warm-up shots behind Pierre, and we'll see if he gives it a go tonight.
Did you see that bit where he sort of like skipped across? It wasn't like he was there just sort of going through the motions. He looked like he was ready to have some fun.
That's right. And maybe he's fired up. The Timberwolves looking to go on their longest winning streak of the season tonight, looking to pick up win number 6, and they're off until Friday. So in the NBA, it's a little bit, having 3 full days off is a little abnormal. So maybe trying to give it a full go tonight, knowing that he's got 3 days to rest and recuperate.
Yeah, and the other big takeaway from this show today was your desire to become a farmer just has not gone away.
I love farming. I've always loved the idea of it. I moved to Minnesota not really understanding how big of a farming state and how much farming culture was in this state. Obviously, I love Minnesota corn, and I really do like talking to Commissioner Petersen.
Corn specifically.
I do. I think it's the best corn in the country. I really do. And I'm not just saying that. It's sweet. It's perfect. Untied corn, excellent corn. And it was great getting to chat with Commissioner Thom Petersen. Always enjoy talking to him and getting his perspective on some things. And hey, today was a little bit of a payday for Minnesota farmers. So
$12 billion worth of payday. That's
right.
A decent one.
That's right. So I know he's pretty happy about that. Although he did call it a Band-Aid, not a long-term solution. So we'll see what ends up becoming of it. But hey, at least it's good news for our farmers here in the state.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got your agricultural lesson. You now know what sorghum is.
That's right. And know what soybeans actually do, and all of that. So yeah, we were. I really did enjoy talking to that. And by the way, the James J. Hill House in St. Paul, I really would like to go to that. I have to find somebody to go with because I don't know. I guess I could go solo. I need to find somebody to go with, but I would like taking somebody there. That would be a really fun place to go and a fun little event on the weekend to do. And like I said, you can make a whole evening in St. Paul out of it. Go to I got great restaurants in St. Paul.
By Gibson. Gibson might even show you around.
That's right. I need to get in touch with her and. Yeah, like I said, any excuse I can have to go to St. Paul, I try to take advantage of it, and you could turn that into a whole evening and go to DiGidio's or one of these other Mancini's or one of these other restaurants that I really love, Cecil's Deli, great restaurants in St. Paul and great attractions right in our own backyard.
Right on our doorstep. You know who else is on our doorstep?
What's that?
Simone and Kelsey. Mm-hmm. They are not far away. I think we are 1 minute out from the 5 o'clock news starting, and it looks like we've got Simone and Kelsey in the chair, ready to bring you all the big stories, all the top stories of the day. I can actually see around as well. There's some journalists spread it all around, about to do live shots into the news to give everyone all the latest and greatest of what's happening in the news here in the Twin Cities.
No doubt. And one thing that's going to be huge here in the Twin Cities tomorrow is some winter weather that's going to be rumbling in early afternoon, midday tomorrow. The Fox 9 has you covered on all ends there, and specifically the afternoon shift, we will have you covered as well. Ian Leonard will be joining us
regular appearances from Ian Leonard on the half hour is the current plan.
That's right. There will be multiple appearances of him, trying to give everybody the latest. Of course, if you're with us in the afternoons, it's right around your commute home if you're working traditional working hours. So we want to make sure everybody's taken care of, and we'll have all of that and more on tomorrow's episode of the afternoon shift.
Yeah, we absolutely will. And the 5 o'clock news starts right now.